din hjärta försvinner.
श्री राधा गोकुलानंद की जय, सीताराम लक्ष्मण हनुमान की, गौरनीताय की। नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्णप्रस्थाय भूतले श्रीमद् भक्तिवेदांत स्वामी निति नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वती देवी गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्देशतारिणे। प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैता गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौर भक्तवृंदा। Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare। Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare। Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare। Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare। Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare। Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Krishna Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Prematurely
Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajacharya Ashtotara Santa Shri Srimad His Divine Grace Srila Abhayacharya Bhaktisiddhanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajacharya Ashtotara Santa Shri Srimad His Divine Grace Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakura Ki. Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinatha Shamakund Radhakund Giri Govardhan Ki. Shri Shri Radha Gokulananda Ki. Shri Shri Sitaram Lakshman Hanuman Ki. Shri Shri Gauranitai Ki. Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki. Shri Navadvip Dham Ki. Ganga Mai Ki. Yamuna Mai Ki. Bhakti Devi Ki. Tulasi Devi Ki. Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki. Janitai Gaur Premanandi Haribo. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories unto the lotus feet of Sri Sri Guru and Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna, everybody. Welcome to Bhaktivedanta Manor. Today we have a special program this afternoon. It is the holy appearance day of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakura. And for the next couple of hours, we're going to be making offerings, reflecting on the life of our Acharya Dev, and also hearing from him. So we're going to start that in a moment. There's also prasadam being served in the Haveli. If anyone cannot bear to to stay and really needs to eat, then the Haveli prasadam will be served from around now up until 6 o'clock. So we're going to be presenting our offerings to Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakura just from this corner, yes, on my left as I'm pointing. And so it's really great if everybody who comes into the temple room and wants to listen is sitting facing this wall, yes, so that we don't have our backs to our acharyas. So please make yourselves comfortable, and we will proceed shortly. I am waiting for my first special mystery guest. He has promised me he's on his way. So I'm hoping he arrives very quickly. I'm going to begin actually something first. Okay, yeah, that's a good idea. Yes. Let's chant your Singadev prayers first.
Namaste Narasingaya. Namaste Narasingaya. Pralada Dayine. Toya mita to nisingho. Kahi nisingho niraye nisingho. Nasing amanin sadanam prapade. Kara kamala vare Shukadev Bhagavan ki, Prahlad Maharaj ki. All glories to assembled devotees. Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
Just go on the other side of the wall. Let's get the show on the road. No, let's just leave it there and get going. Hare Krishna, everybody. Let's begin. So nice to see you all here. We're celebrating the appearance day of His Divine Grace, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakura Prabhupada. I want to begin by reading something brief that Srila Prabhupada spoke to his BTG staff on December 24th, 1969 in Boston. He said, "So Bhaktisiddhanta's writing is not very easy to understand. Yes, but we should try, read, and read again. And simply that vibration will help us. That's all. It is transcendental vibration, not that everyone will understand, but if you simply give oral reception to the vibration, that will make him advanced. Not exactly that anyone has to understand it. Yes, just like a man is sleeping and somebody is calling him. In his sleeping condition, he does not understand. By calling, he gets up because that vibration is there. Not that in his sleeping condition he is understanding what is this sound. What sound is coming? So similarly, we should give reception to the transcendental vibrations made by Krishna and his bona fide representatives. That will make us awakened, not that we understand everything. So in that spirit, I want to read a little bit from an essay that Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakura wrote entitled Lord Nityananda. Recently we had Lord Nityananda's appearance day, and this was an essay published in The Harmonist. And this is our Acharya Dev speaking. He says, "There is no text which declares that the process of revelation can be closed. Neither is there any text which considers that the Sanskrit language is the only medium of all revelation. The linguistic view of the scriptures is denounced in no uncertain terms by the scriptures themselves. Access to the real meaning of the scriptures is not furnished by the language, but by the spiritual preceptor, Sri Guru. It is the highest order of devotees who can make us understand the real meaning of the scriptures. They can do so with or without the help of any language or any other form of instrument of this world. The process of enlightenment by the Sadguru is spiritual. Its nature or method cannot be understood except by his grace. This applies as much to the Sanskrit works as to the vernacular compositions. In neither case, a person can do without the help and guidance of Sadguru. Sri Nityananda Prabhu is the source of the power of the Sadguru." So, this evening, we are remembering the life of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakura. And rather than trying to tell everything about his life, we're going to do something simpler, and I hope more fitting. We're going to walk through a few moments that allow us to enter his life and to feel the purpose with which he was sent. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakura appeared in a time when devotional life in many places had become diluted. It was still there, but often inherited, ritualized, or mixed with social prestige. And it's striking that from the very beginning of his life, there is a sense of gravity. Not drama, gravity. His appearance was the direct answer to prayer. His father, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, prayed earnestly to the Lord for a ray of Vishnu. Someone empowered to protect and re-establish the pure teachings of Mahaprabhu. At the time of his birth, several signs were noted. It is remembered that the umbilical cord was wrapped around his body like a sacred Brahmana thread. And soon after, on the day of Ratha Yatra, a garland from the cart of Lord Jagannath fell upon the child. These are not remembered as decorative details. They are remembered because they confirmed what the devotees already understood, that this life was not ordinary, and that a mission was already present. He grew up surrounded by devotion, learning, and sacred sound. But even as a boy, there was a seriousness about him. Not harshness, not austerity for show, but a quiet clarity about what life is meant for. He was not interested in religion as comfort. He was not interested in spirituality as ornament. And as we move through his life this evening, we'll keep encountering this same quality again and again. A refusal to pretend, a refusal to dilute, a refusal to treat the deepest truths lightly. From the very beginning, it feels as though he is being prepared, not for ease, not for popularity, but for responsibility. And that preparation, intellectual, moral, and spiritual, is what will later allow him to stand firm when others compromise, to speak clearly when others soften, and to protect something precious when it is at risk of being lost. So this is where his story begins, not with fame, not with followers, but with a life arriving in this world already aligned with service. As we begin this evening together, let us hold that understanding that we are remembering not simply a remarkable devotee, but an empowered servant of Krishna, sent to restore clarity and truth. And with that foundation laid, I would like to invite Jayadev Prabhu to offer his song. I've got the backing track ready. I'm going to put the backing track on now for you, yeah? You just tell me.
Did you get the,
Yeah, I got it.
the last one?
Yes.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, everybody. My obeisances, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Okay, so a few days ago, David Prabhu told me this program was happening. And I thought, could I write a poem? No. How can you write a poem about Maharaj? He's so great. Not that anybody else isn't, as well, of course. So then I thought of Krishna Dharma Prabhu, who had written some poems a couple of years back and asked me to put them to music. And one of them was O He Vaishnav Thakur. And I thought this will be nicely fitting. So I'm going to sing that for you. And of course, you know, I always like everybody to sing along. That's so I'm going to try to get you to do that, if you would. But to add to that, last 2 nights I've been on doing Harinam in the West End. And like yesterday was about 3 hours in the pouring rain. And I'm afraid that my singing voice it's not that good anyway, but it's worse. So the only way I'm going to be able to sing this is with in falsetto, if that's all right. So you just have to tolerate it. That's okay, yeah? So,
Sing into the mic.
use this mic, yeah?
Is that okay?
Yeah, sure. Okay, I'll just give you the chorus, and if you want to sing, you don't have to. So, Vaishnav Thakur, help me be pure. Vaishnav so kind. Sorry, can't get it. Reveal your mind. So it's like that. Vaishnav Thakur, help me be pure. Vaishnav so kind, reveal your mind. And later on, the words change a little bit in that, and I'll call them out to you before we actually. Oh, it's gone over there now. Right. Oh. I think you better have it back, Dave, so I've got something to hide behind when the rotten oranges come. Okay. Sorry,
Tell me when you want me to play. When you're backing track. Tell me when I should press play.
Oh, to tell you when?
Yeah.
Okay, so what about now?
Okay.
Okay, so excuse me the voice, please. This is the chorus.
Vaishnav Thakur,
Help me be pure.
help me be pure.
Vaishnav so kind.
Vaishnav so kind,
Reveal your mind.
reveal your mind.
Well done.
Teach me self-control, purify my nature. Oh, bless me with the best of qualities. Let me always yearn to be in the blessed company of our dear Lord's pure devotees. Vaishnav Thakur, help me be pure.
Vaishnav so kind.
Vaishnav so kind, reveal your mind. Alone I have no strength, and I really hope that you would love with Sri Krishna's holy name. Grant me this your grace, a fragment of your faith, so I shine the greatest treasure.
Vaishnav Thakur.
Vaishnav Thakur,
Please set me free.
please set me free.
These worldly chains
These worldly chains
imprison me.
imprison me.
Well done.
Vaishnav Thakur, the Lord belongs to you. You hold him deep within your heart. Your blessings can bestow him upon me. Please kindly show us how to attain him. Calling Krishna, Krishna, I fall at your feet and cry for one drop of your pure causeless charity.
Vaishnav Thakur.
Vaishnav Thakur,
I fall at your feet.
I fall at your feet.
Help me to love.
Help me to love.
Make me complete.
Make me complete. Vaishnav Thakur, Vaishnav Thakur.
So your bit now is to sing Jai Guru Dev, yeah? Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakura Maharaj ki jai. Haribol.
Jaidev Prabhu, that was beautiful. Thank you so much. Let's give him a round of applause. That was such a lovely way to open our series of offerings. Thank you, Jaidev. As Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakura grew, it became clear that the Lord was preparing him in a very particular way. He was born in 1874 in Jagannath Puri, one of the holiest places in India, a place of pilgrimage, worship, and ancient devotion. But it was also a time of deep confusion in religious life. India was under British rule. Traditional structures were under pressure, and within devotional communities themselves, purity was often mixed with complacency, caste pride, and sentiment. As a young man, he received a formidable education. He studied in Calcutta, the intellectual center of Bengal at the time, a city alive with debate, reform movements, Western influence, and religious tension. Learning came easily to him. Even as a child, the signs were unmistakable. By the age of 7, he had memorized the Bhagavad Gita in Sanskrit and could speak on it with insight and confidence. Languages, logic, scripture, analysis, all were grasped with precision. He also became highly accomplished in Jyotisha, astrology and astronomy. His calculations were exact, his understanding deep, and his reputation spread. So much so that he was consulted and respected by royalty and was offered the opportunity to live and work under the patronage of the king of Tripura, a position of honor, security, and influence. He declined it, not because he lacked ability, but because he had already seen clearly where his life was meant to go. What stands out is not simply that he was intelligent, it is how he used that intelligence. Under the guidance of his father, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he was also trained in printing, editing, and proofreading. Practical skills that would later become essential instruments of preaching. He did not study in order to impress. He did not master knowledge to gain position or prestige. He used learning as a tool for discernment, to separate truth from distortion and devotion from imitation. Very early on, he could see what was happening around him. Sacred practices were being inherited rather than realized. Spiritual authority was being claimed by birth rather than character. The holy name was sometimes treated casually, even commercially. And he would not accept that, not because he was argumentative, but because he was protective. Protective of Mahaprabhu's gift, protective of the holy name, protective of a tradition that he could see was in danger of being diluted. This clarity gave him a reputation. Some were drawn to him immediately, others found him unsettling. Because clarity, especially in confused times, can feel threatening. He did not soften truth in order to be liked. He did not blur distinctions in order to create harmony. And he did not mistake social politeness for spiritual depth. And yet, at this stage, something important is happening. Despite his brilliance, despite his clarity, despite his recognized standing, he does not rush into public leadership. Instead, he withdraws. Because the deepest preparation is still ahead. the sharpness of his mind, the firmness of his convictions, and the seriousness of his character are all being gathered, not for argument, but for something much deeper. For surrender, for discipline, for a life anchored completely in the holy name. And it is to those unseen years, lived quietly, intensely, and almost entirely out of public view, that we turn to next. But first, we continue the evening with our next offering from Govinda Prabhu.
I feel like I'm the supporting act for Rupa Vilas Prabhu. If anyone doesn't know, Rupa Vilas Prabhu has written The Real Vishnu. He did some extensive research many, many years ago, and he has edited and expanded upon this book, and hopefully in the not too distant future it will be published. Hare Krishna. I'm going to discuss, well actually I'm going to read a section from Bhaktisiddhanta Vaibhav, which is a book by Bhaktivedanta Swami, which is also a biography of Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati. I'm going to read to you a section, a difficult period in the life of Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati. It was at the time when both his father, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, and his guru, Diksha Guru, Gorgashodas Babaji Maharaj, left the planet at the same time, within 1 year after another. And he was left alone, but he had the burden of love to try and spread Krishna consciousness. So I'll read you this section, which I think is very pertinent, and it has a mystical element to it. There's a vision that Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati had. Upon Babaji Maharaj's disappearance, Sri Siddhanta Sarasvati inwardly bemoaned, "Now who will chastise me to make me understand the truth as it is?" Having seen many disturbances arise in the Vaishnava community following the Tirobhav of Sri Bhaktivinoda Thakur, just 16 months before, feeling disappointment and hopelessness and keenly suffering the absence of his two muses, Sri Siddhanta Sarasvati resolved to keep to himself and desist from speaking Harikatha to others. Although he had commented on 8 of the 11 verses of Anuvriti, a further elaboration of Srila Bhaktivinoda's Piyusha Varshini Vritti gloss of Sri Rupa Goswami's Upadeshamrita. It's quite elevated language, this. It's written in this style. Which he was composing on Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur's specific order. He ceased working on it. He lamented, "To whom will I show my articles and books? Who will take pleasure in my writings and encourage me to continue? Who will take pleasure in hearing about the preaching work and the increasing splendor of the Dham and our service to it? Instructions in a vision." That's the heading. Practically foregoing food and sleep, he remained engaged in intense bhajan while wrestling with a dilemma. His heart reverberated with Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur's order that he not renounce service to Mahaprabhu. And seeing the mass of people spoiling their valuable human life, simply taking birth and then dying without information or interest in the incomparable boons offered by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Sri Siddhanta Sarasvati was unceasingly contemplating the need to preach. Yet, having experienced the kind of malicious opposition he would have to face for speaking the truth, he was reluctant to return to public life. Then, one day, a gust of wind blew before him an extract from Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, wherein Lord Chaitanya instructed Sanatana Goswami to compose transcendental literature, renovate forgotten holy places, institute service to Lord Krishna, and propagate Bhakti Rasa. Taking this as a divine indication, but feeling depressed and incapable, Sri Siddhanta Sarasvati pondered, "I have no public support, no wealth, learning, or the intelligence required to awaken interest in the populace? How can I convey to the inhospitable world the pure teachings of Sri Chaitanya and establish the manobishta of my gurus? That means the desire of his gurus. Shortly afterward, one night at the yoga pit, in a dreamlike revelation, he saw approaching him from the east the Panchatattva, the 6 Goswamis of Vrindavan, Srila Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Srila Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj, and numerous other great devotees of Lord Chaitanya. They told him, Sarasvati, why are you worrying? Begin the task of establishing Shuddha Bhakti. Distribute Gauravani universally. Expand service to Gauranam, Gauratam, and Gaurakam. So that means the service to the name, Gauranam, Gauradam, the abode of the Lord, the holy Dham, and Gaurakam, the desire of Gaura. With unbreached enthusiasm, broadcast Bhaktisiddhanta. We are eternally with you, ready to help. The support of unlimited people, immeasurable opulence, and boundless scholarship awaits the blessing to serve your mission. All will manifest when required. Come forward with full strength to distribute the message of Mahaprabhu's Prema Dharma throughout the globe. No worldly hindrance or menace will be able to obstruct this undertaking of yours. We are forever with you. That's the end of the extract. And as we know, with the support and the blessings of the parampara, this prophecy or this instruction came to fruition. And in spite of so many obstacles, Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati established 64 mats throughout India. And in his later life, he was prophesizing that at one point he said, one of my disciples will one day cross over the ocean and he will bring back the whole world. And that was at a time when several of his other disciples had tried but not been successful. And of course, actually when he was saying this is the pastime from Nayana Brahmachari, I believe. He was a young disciple of Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati. He described that when Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati was speaking this in front of a large audience, he was looking at, and this Brahmachari thought he was looking at me. But then he saw he's not looking at me, he's looking to the side, and he noticed that he was looking at Abhay Charnaravinda, who later became our Srila Prabhupada. So he was saying this at the time, and he was looking at the eyes of Prabhupada, saying, well, the next person that crosses the ocean will bring back the whole world. And of course we know that Srila Prabhupada did this. And he had his struggles as well, just like Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati had to suffer from the loss of his 2 gurus. But he pushed forward with the blessings of the parampara. In the same way, Srila Prabhupada, at the Rama Damodar temple, he also had his mystical experience, had a vision of Rupa Goswami, and he was guided by Rupa Goswami to push on this mission, which is why he eventually managed to secure the ticket aboard the ship, the Jaladuta, and the rest is history. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai.
Thanks a lot. Thank you very much, Govinda. It's clear that Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakura is not a mere mortal, but has the full backing of the Guru Parampara and the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And all of the incidences in his life, and certainly his own teachings, bear that out. After all of this preparation, after recognition, learning, and even worldly opportunity, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakura makes a choice that defines the rest of his life. He chooses submission. Despite his learning, his reputation, and his recognized abilities, he does not attempt to chart his own spiritual course. On the recommendation of his father, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he approaches Srila Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj and begs to become his disciple. This is a decisive moment. Gorakishore Das Babaji Maharaj lived as a deeply renounced saint, outwardly simple, unconcerned with social convention, and uninterested in recognition or institutional standing. To accept him as guru brought no worldly advantage, no social leverage, no prestige or protection. But within Vaishnava understanding, it represented something far greater. It was an impeccable act of pure guru sharanagati, surrender to the spiritual master. From this point onward, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakura places his life fully under the shelter of Sri Guru Parampara, guided not by intellect or ability, but by obedience and faith. Only after this surrender does he withdraw fully into bhajan. In the early years of the 20th century, he settles in Jagannath Puri at Siddha Bakula, a place associated with deep devotion and remembrance. And his life there is not one of comfort. It is one of very severe austerity. For years he lives in near seclusion, dedicating himself to Nama Bhajana, the disciplined, concentrated chanting of the holy name, not casually, not sentimentally, but with unwavering resolve. He undertakes extraordinary vows of chanting. His days and nights revolve around the holy name, scripture, and prayer. These are the years that almost no one sees. There are no audiences, no followers, no institutions, no reputation to build. But everything that will come later is forged here. Our Srila Prabhupada would later speak about this very period. He explained that his Guru Maharaj, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, underwent very severe austerities in order to establish the Krishna consciousness movement. In other words, what we now experience as a living tradition, what we recognize as organized preaching, what eventually reached the West, was paid for here, with surrender, with discipline, with apparent silence. Because it is here, under the order of Guru and fully anchored to the holy name, that his authority is sealed. Not authority claimed, not authority assumed, but authority received. And this explains everything that follows. When Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakura later speaks strongly, when he accepts sannyas, when he challenges distortion and establishes institutions, he is not acting independently. He is acting as a servant of his Guru and the Parampara. And it is from this place, this deep alignment and inner stillness, that the lion Guru will soon step forward. And now I'd like to invite Roshan and Samantha to make their offering. They are going to recite for us the translation to one of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakura's songs called Dushtamana, which means wicked mind. So he's on his way. I'll get you the other mic, okay? Just let me get the volume.
I don't know, because the energy kind of gets. Hare Krishna. There we go.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it takes this one. Okay.
As you like. You can pull it out, or you can just stand there and
Right. Oh, wicked mind.
Or can we just say something 1 minute?
Oh, go for it, yeah.
Sorry to disturb you, Samantha. Hare Krishna, everyone. Please accept our humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakura. It's the first time I've done anything like this in the temple room, shared as well. We're going to be sharing with Samantha as David Prabhu has already said, we're going to be sharing a song from Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakura, as it is, as well, with no interpretations. We're going to be just injecting our own mood, personality, and going verse by verse. And then afterwards, me and Samantha are going to be sharing individually an offering, a poem that was inspired by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakura's song. So please extend your blessings. We ask for any, if any imperfections, if we offend, please accept our apologies, and please connect to the mood of this inspiring song and this offering. It's a conversation from Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakura's, between him and his mind, that sometimes we're trying to pacify the mind and it's racing in 101 directions. So please just take it as an invitation, as we have, to just really connect to his words, his mood, to try and help us on our own spiritual journeys in whichever way that is for you. Hare Krishna.
Oh, wicked mind, what kind of Vaishnava do you think you are? Your pretentious show of chanting Lord Hari's holy name in a solitary place is only for the sake of attaining the false prestige of a worldly reputation. It is nothing but pure hypocrisy.
Such materialistic prestige is as disgusting as the stool of a hog. Do you not know that it is only a mere illusion cast by the potency of Maya? What is the value of contemplating day and night your plans for enjoying wealth and women? All these things are only temporary.
When you claim wealth as your own, it creates in you ever-increasing desires for material enjoyment. Your riches should be used for serving Madhava, the Lord of all wealth. Neither is it your proper place to indulge in the lust for woman, whose only true proprietor is Lord Yadava.
The demon Ravana, lust incarnate, fought with Lord Ramachandra, love incarnate, in order to gain the tree of worldly reputation. But that oasis turned out to be a mirage cast in the desert wasteland of the Lord's illusionary material potency. Please cultivate fixed determination to attain only the steady and solid platform whereupon a Vaishnava ever stands. If you neglect worshipping the Lord from this position, then you will ultimately attain a hellish existence.
Why do you needlessly suffer the torment of blaspheming the devotees of Lord Hare, attempting to achieve that eminence, thereby only proving your fruitless foolishness? The desire for spiritual eminence is easily fulfilled when one becomes a devotee of the Lord. For eternal fame automatically follows the heels of a Vaishnava, and that fame is never to be considered a temporary worldly opulence.
The relationship between a devotee and Lord Hari is devoid of even a trace of worldly illusion. It has nothing to do with the materialistic cheating propensity. The prestige of so-called popularity in the material realm is compared to a treacherous dog-eating witch, and the attempt to live in solitude to supposedly engage in unalloyed bhajan is compared to an entangling network of distraction. Please know that anyone striving in either of these ways verily lives in the hell of Maya's illusion.
I shall give up chanting the Lord's name publicly in kirtan and retire to solitude, thus smearing myself with worldly honor. Dear mind, what is the good of seeking such so-called glory? I will always remind you that the great soul, Madhavendra Puri, never deceived himself in that regard by committing theft in his own storehouse of perception the way you do.
Your cheap perception, your cheap reputation is equal to the stool of a hog. An ordinary ambitious man like you can never be equated with a devotee of Madha Vendra Puri's eminence. Under the sway of envy, you have drowned yourself in the filthy waters of material enjoyment after having abandoned the excellent perfection of congregational kirtan.
Truly, O wicked mind, the glories of so-called solitary worship are propagated only by the false yogis, using unscrupulous means to deceive others. To save yourself from these pitfalls, please contemplate the instructions that the Supreme Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu kindly gave us while addressing Srila Santana Goswami with the utmost care.
Do not forget for a moment the two most valuable concepts that he taught. One, the principle of dry apparent renunciation is opposed to real appropriate renunciation. And two, the principle of a soul being trapped in the bondage of matter as opposed to a soul who is liberated. Don't ever make the mistake of thinking that these conflicting concepts are on the same level. Please remember this while engaging yourself in chanting the Lord's holy names as loud as you possibly can.
One is truly a Vaishnava who has given up the habit of falling victim to the ferocious tigress of wealth, beauty and fame. Such a soul is factually detached from the material life and is known as a pure devotee. Someone with this consciousness of detachment has thereby become victorious over the mundane world of birth and death.
One is indeed detached who moderately partakes of worldly things that are deemed necessary for living in devotional service. A devotee acting in that manner does not fall prey to the disease of material infatuation. Thus devoid of selfish attachment and endowed with the ability to see things in relation to the Lord, all sense objects are then directly perceived as being Lord Madhava himself.
This is the standard of befitting renunciation, and one who realizes this is the most fortunate indeed. Everything involved in such a devotee's life represents Lord Hari's personal spiritual opulence as manifest in this world of matter. On the other hand, one who engages in chanting the Lord's name with the hopes of enhancing his own material reputation finds that all his activities and paraphernalia represent only the riches of hypocrisy.
O mind, please reject the company of two types of persons, those desiring impersonal liberation from the material world and those who desire to enjoy the pleasure of material sense objects. Both of these are equally non-devotees. The things that are used in relation to Lord Krishna are objects belonging directly to the transcendental realm, and thus having nothing to do with matter, they cannot be either owned or forsaken by persons interested in mundane enjoyment or renunciation.
An impersonal philosopher is opposed to thinking of Krishna as an object of devotion, and thus being puffed up by the false pride of imaginary liberation, he dares to criticize the true devotees of the Lord. O mind, you are the servant of the Vaishnavas, and you should always hope for attaining devotion. Why then do you make such a loud commotion by calling to me and trying to prove the supposed supremacy of the practice of solitary worship?
One who falsely gives up things that could actually be used in the Lord's service proudly calls himself a renunciate. But unfortunately, he can never become a Vaishnava by such an attitude. Abandoning his servitorship to the lotus feet of Lord Hari and resigning himself to his solitary home, whatever is gained by that exercise can only be the worthless treasure of deception.
Ever engage yourself in the service of Sri Radha and keep aloof from the vicious snake of materialistic sense gratification. The glory of participating in the Lord's Kirtan is not meant to bolster anyone's ambition for personal recognition. O mind, why then have you abandoned the identity of being Radha's eternal servant in favor of retiring to a solitary place to practice the cheating process of so-called bhajans?
The most valuable treasures amongst the Lord's preachers are the eternal personalities residing in Vraja Dham. They never occupy themselves with begging for worthless material reputation, which is cherished only by the living dead. The Vrajavasis are truly infused with life, and therefore they preach in order to give life to the walking corpses of the mundane world. All the songs that the Vrajavasis sing about the glories of Lord Krishna are devoid of any tinge of desire for fame.
Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati, servant of Radha and her beloved Krishna, always hopes for kirtan, and he begs all too loudly, sing the names of Lord Hare. The transcendental power of congregational chanting automatically awakens remembrance of the Lord and his divine pastimes in relation to one's own eternal spiritual form. Only at that time does it become possible to go off to a solitary place and engage in the confidential worship of their lordships.
Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakura ki Jai. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Thank you for your...
Please excuse me, I'm just going to get my yeah, thank you so much.
Do you want to understand?
Hare Krishna, everyone, and thank you so much for your patience. And the song that we just shared, this was a poem, a reflection that was inspired as I was connecting to the mood of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakura. And this is just my own poem and reflections that came from my own heart and soul. And it's called The Lion Guru's Call to Our Mind. The Lion Guru, shining with splendor and oh so vibrant, at a time where the land of Bharat was filled with rascals and tyrants. When devotees and the pious were put on trial, he was guided by the light of mercy of Sri Radha and Krishna's loving glance and smile. A lion, the Guru, who was honest, sincere, strong and full of determination. Even when he was surrounded by a nation which was being conquered, he rose up to share Lord Chaitanya's mission. Even when the people were going through so much rife, he stood tall and spoke sharp like a thunderbolt to cut through the hypocrisy and maya like a knife. O restless mind, why don't you listen to these words that he says? You say that you want to live in the mode of goodness, but you're constantly calling me to passionately play. O restless mind, why chase an illusion of a crown? It's clear that you want fame and praise without meaning, but if you get it, you'll drown. Because false prestige shines bright, yet in time it rots us within, like gold-plated chains that binds us to the skin. The false ego makes claims that was never our own, and the truth is everything rests on Madhava's throne. Our attachments and what we desire to be only finds truth in service and bhakti. And we often mistake escaping for spiritual renunciation, and silence is peaceful but doesn't compare to love's pure vibration. And I've learned that withdrawal is not the way to the freedom's door. Real surrender calls us to serve even more. For love of Krishna is bold and bright. It dances loud and sings in Kirtan's light. The servants of Radha are brave and do not hide. They sing to awaken the suffering souls outside. So, oh mind, please accept help by this devotional plea. Help me to become the servant that you was meant to be. This is the call of the kind-hearted, lion-hearted sage. who shook the whole world in a darkened age. So chant from the heart and let your devotion be known, because through Sankirtan, the soul comes home. And one day a young man who you may know that answered this call came along. Strong and fearless was this man who stood against wrong. He had the right direction but was misguided until his guru shared his instructions with the Lord's song. And as soon as young Abe heard these potent words, this paved the way for his destiny to be carved out by his guru's blessing and for what he had longed. He said, print books when you get Lakshmi and take Krishna consciousness to the West and speak for the fallen entities. And on that guidance, he put his guru's blessing on his shoulders and carried him around the globe, sharing Krishna with the world. And over 12 years, Hare Krishna became a household name. Thousands of disciples were reconnected, and his guru's instructions unfurled. The rain pours like a shower of mercy. The mind battles against me, armed with lust, greed, and it feels like it sometimes wants to hurt me. Sometimes it rages and sometimes it's calm. But the most pacifying and purifying medicine is to chant Radhe Shyam. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakura stood true to share the sweetest nectar, a personal relationship with Sri Krishna against impersonal philosophies and tragedies that water down the truth like King Gansa's ignorance in Madura. So without him, where would our dear Srila Prabhupada be? And without Srila Prabhupada, I wouldn't be here, and maybe you wouldn't be seeing each other and me. So let's all come together in gratitude today and honor a spiritual giant, the Lion Guru, and the servant of the servant on his auspicious appearance day. And together, let's chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakura ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna. So this is a poem inspired by what we read, but it's very simplified because it was a poem that I wrote a few years ago, but I tweaked it because it seemed very relatable. Yeah, so let's give it a go. We create our own reality, a mind locked in its own mentality, viewing life through fractured lenses, abstract shapes of misconception, chasing money, lust, and reputation, while an ocean of loving emotion waits patiently circling, unseen. Snow melts as cascade of light split the sky, elevating until an anchor drops. Tied to a false thread of attraction, pulled by sudden distraction, thunderbolts of reaction, igniting scars beneath the skin, masked by a grin, paranoid thoughts of sheepskin, whispering again and again, it's not me, it's them. Always scanning for warning signs, reading between the lines, caught in a static of fractured mind, convinced the world is against you, that even the Lord turned his back. Every word feels like an attack. Your guard is high, the light goes black, now spiraling, a vortex of anxiety, trust dissolving into society, the will to continue thinning, threadbare. Breathe, slow down, notice the mind and how it defines and redefines the world it's seeing. This is not our home. The mind plays tricks, creates conflicts without cause. Step back, be present, turn inward, create the space you want to inhabit. Divert your energy to the divine. Stay rooted, reach for the sky. Believe in your soul, believe in your light, and slowly watch your reality begin to change when you put your full faith in the holy name. Thank you.
Haribol. Oh, it came out. That's probably easier. Hare Krishna. So today I'm going to tell a story that obviously involves Bhaktisiddhanta, but also my own beloved Srila Prabhupada. When I first thought about what on earth can I say, I was thinking, well, I could write, like a quick essay, and I thought, how can I do that in front of Rupa Vilas Prabhu, who wrote the book? So I rejected that. But luckily, I remembered this story. Actually, it's one of my favorite stories. And it goes back to Bombay. It was actually Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj's disappearance day, not his appearance day. Because in the Vaishnava calendar, if you start at Gopanim, the disappearance day is first. So this was December 1975. I was a young girl, a young devotee. And if you mentioned Bhaktisiddhanta to me, I was very apprehensive. He seemed so strict and, no frivolity in him. And I was slightly frivolous in those days, just a little bit. That, of course, is completely gone now. And I was quite kind of frightened of him. I was much more attracted to Bhaktivinoda. Bhaktivinoda had children. He was on his second wife because of misfortune, obviously. And he had a job. He was a working man, so I could relate to Bhaktivinoda, having had a job myself in previous times. But Bhaktisiddhanta was so strict and so, as I see him coming, I'd probably walk the other way, which of course I wasn't going to see him coming. But then we had this very wonderful festival in Bombay. Now, when you think of Bombay, I was just there last year. It's the most spectacular temple you can imagine. Radharasa Bihari on their thrones. And a zillion devotees everywhere. There were so many devotees, they even brought me a chair, someone. And a garland. Thank you. And I always remember this story because in those days in Bombay there was a handful of us, literally just a few of us. And the temple, calling it a temple was a very generous description. Some of you may have heard my description of the Bombay temple, but out of the 4 walls there was only one that was actually a wall with bricks. The rest were shutters that we only pulled down in the rain, turquoise of all colours, turquoise shutters, kind of bamboo. Think of those bamboo shutters that we have today. And the floor, it was a concrete block with turquoisey, bluey coloured tiles. And like I said, no walls, just these metal bars holding up a corrugated iron, steel, whatever. Those corrugated roofs that go like this? If you look at the old Anderson shelters from World War II, that's what they were made from. So it was a primitive, you could say, temple. So, Bhaktisiddhanta's disappearance day, and Srila Prabhupada is with us. He was only having a quick trip. I've been on Google, I checked the dates. Prabhupada was only there for 3 days, but it was Bhaktisiddhanta's disappearance day. Now, in those days, we were really gung-ho. There's nothing we wouldn't have done for Srila Prabhupada. So, we decided, it's just a handful of us, we decided to cook 108 preparation feast for Bhaktisiddhanta to please Srila Prabhupada. Now you might think, that's nothing, you can call in this life member and this one and that one. But we were very strict in those days. We had to have our pukkha kitchens. Pukkha is also a very generous word, because if you went into the kitchens, there were 2. There was a devotee kitchen where there were big pots, cooked up our daily khichdi. If we were lucky, we got a bit of sabji rice dal. And then there was the deity kitchen, which was a small room. You could fit 2, maybe 3 at a push. And it had Do you think we had gas? Do you think we went like that and the fires came on? Who thinks that's what it was like in India in 1975? No, it was kerosene. You know kerosene? Cookers, and you had to like pump them, and with a bit of luck the flame came up and you got a light, with a lot of luck sometimes, and that's how we cooked. In the devotee kitchen, it was, the walls were about this high, brick, then there was a gap with nothing, and then there was a straw roof. Now how that never caught on fire, because they cooked with wood. But wood makes prasadam very delicious, I have to say. So that was our facility, and we were going to cook 108 preps. It was almost a dream, but if I learnt anything from Srila Prabhupada, it was determination. So off we went, and away we went. It's just like I said, a handful. I think maybe a couple of the men, probably, I'm guessing here, but I was thinking about it last night, and I think maybe Shankadas and Ekanath had popped over to One Life members' house to use their kitchen because they made subjis, and how can you do it? The ladies were in the kitchen with going desperately like this to make this kerosene fire work. Anyway, don't ask me how. There was some cheating. We cooked. There was 108. We were all counting. The whole noon Arctic, we were all like this. And of course, there was, like I said, there was some cheating. Like we were making Simply Wonderfuls, which is a no-cook prep. Of course, we had plain Simply Wonderfuls. We had raisin Simply Wonderfuls. We had cashew nut Simply Wonderfuls. We had cashew and raisin Simply Wonderful. And on we went. Pakoras, that's another one, isn't it? Cauliflower pakoras, potato pakoras, cabbage pakoras, and all those different Indian subjis that we didn't even know the names of in those days. But somehow there was definitely about 108. So after the Arctic, Hamsadutta Maharaj at that time, those of you who know, very dynamic devotee in his day. So he came down and said, you have to show Srila Prabhupada all these offerings. You have to. Srila Prabhupada lived on, if you count it the English way, we have the ground floor, the first floor, the second floor of an apartment within Hare Krishna land. The American way, it's 1, 2, 3. So choose your way of counting. So, now, the lids to pots in India don't have a handle, they're flat. So we took these flat lids to the pots and we put the offerings. Don't forget, they're in small clay pot little dishes, katoris you call in Hindi. They was just small, made of clay. And off we went. Now, Hare Krishna land was just beginning then, and there was a few holes on the way, but there was a path round, but they were in the middle starting to dig this big hole, which later became this incredible temple. So it was Sava Mongol, those of you who know Sava, it was Sava Mongol and I were carrying these lids with all these preparations on, and we got to the stairs of Prabhupada's apartment. Now the pot lids are this big, and the stairs, guess what? Are this big. And it was like, at that point, lack of sleep, lack of prasadam, probably blood sugar going like this. I just sat down and laughed, I was just laughing, because how are we going to get these trays of prasadam up 2 flights of stairs to Srila Prabhupada? Anyway, somehow we did it. I think some of the men up there came and took a few, and somehow, a bit of this, a bit of that. We managed to get all these trays up to Srila Prabhupada's room. Now, in those days, I was very shy, something I don't have that problem with anymore. And we were, Sava, Mongol and I, we were just kind of waiting outside. There was a big room outside. The floor was white tiles, but not like regular tiles in a square, like little bits of mosaic tiles. So we were there kind of peering in the room, and the room was full of Srila Prabhupada and his big devotees, sannyasis. So in these trays went, with all the prasadam, 108. I'm not sure we managed all 108, but there was a lot went in. And Prabhupada looked at it, and now here's the line that Prabhupada said. Prabhupada said, "This movement is nothing without its feasts." So we have to always remember that to any temple president, okay? Remember that one. And, Ananthaduta came out and told Sava and I that. Sava doesn't remember it all for some reason. Anyway, so I thought, how the hell are we going to get these plates down the stairs? Guess what? We didn't have that problem because all those men sannyasis and everything grabbed everything, and that was it. We didn't have to carry anything down the stairs. But I think it's a nice story because it shows our determination. Young devotees, I was early 20s, somewhere around there, but how determined, even though we had no facility, how determined we were to do something nice, to please Srila Prabhupada by serving, well, we did it for Prabhupada, even though it was for Bhaktisiddhanta, we did it for Srila Prabhupada. And determination, I think, is a really important thing for devotees, because there's always some obstacle. If it's not one thing, it's the next. So we have to be very determined. And I always remind myself how determined Srila Prabhupada was to preach Krishna consciousness. Can you imagine, the whole Jaladuta journey, and Prabhupada didn't know whether to turn left or right when he got off the Jaladuta. He didn't actually have any money because it was rupees, and you can't change rupees outside of India. We always say, he had 200 rupees. No, he didn't. He had nothing. And his determination. Look, we're all sitting in this manor house now because of Srila Prabhupada's determination. So, my advice to you would be to be determined to serve Prabhupada in whatever way you can, whether it be big or small. So, all glories to Srila Prabhupada.
I need a few more pairs of hands. Mother Moksha, thank you so much. That was really wonderful to hear this pastime. And our movement is nothing without its feasts. Yes. So in case any of you are wondering, it's maybe not a feast, but there is extra prasadam being preserved for devotees that are going the whole hog here this evening. So Ashok Prabhu is taking care of that, and we'll have Pushpanjali at 6:30, and prasad will be available from then onwards. Okay, is everybody all right? Do you need to stand up, shake a few legs, or yeah? We can take a breather. I don't mind. I can wait. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. So we're almost there. Rupa Vilas Prabhu and Vishaka Mataji are going to kindly speak as soon as I've finished my next small segment. And I'm very grateful to both of you for being here this whole time and patiently listening. Thank you so much. After years of preparation, surrender, and inner strength, the time comes for action. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakura steps forward not simply as a renunciant, but as a reviver and organizer of Mahaprabhu's movement. And what follows is remarkable. Within a relatively short span of time, he establishes dozens of centers across India, temples, ashramas, and preaching bases, from Bengal to Orissa, from North India to the south. These are not places of loose affiliation. They are centers of strong sadhana, scriptural clarity, and active preaching. Brahmacharis and sannyasis are trained carefully. Daily spiritual practice is non-negotiable. Study of Shastra is rigorous, and the holy name is carried into public life with dignity and confidence. Alongside this, he makes powerful use of the written word, having established the Bhagavata Press in 1913. Books, essays, and journals are steadily produced and widely circulated. Most notably, he establishes The Harmonist, an English language periodical that carries Gaudiya Vaishnava thought far beyond traditional boundaries. In this way, he continues and expands the literary legacy begun by his father through Sajjana Toshani, now addressing not only Bengal, but the wider world. Through these publications, philosophy is clarified, misconceptions are challenged, and Mahaprabhu's teachings are presented with precision and strength. What is happening here is not accidental. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakura is consciously fulfilling the desire of the 6 Goswamis of Vrindavan. Their work was to preserve, systematize, and articulate Mahaprabhu Sri Chaitanya's teachings. His work is to distribute them widely and without compromise. And at the heart of that teaching is something very specific. Not vague religiosity, not moral reform alone, but pure devotional service to Sri Krishna, ultimately leading the soul towards spontaneous, loving devotion, grounded in Shastra and protected from imitation. This is why he is uncompromising, because he understands what is at stake. He knows that Mahaprabhu did not appear to establish a mere social movement, but to give the world the highest gift, loving service to Krishna, received through discipline, humility, and mercy. By the time this phase of his life is fully underway, something undeniable has occurred. Krishna consciousness in India has been recentered. Its intellectual foundations are strong. Its sadhana is demanding. Its preaching is organized and confident. And from within this revitalized movement, disciples are being formed. Disciples who carry not only knowledge, but mission. Srila Sarasvati Prabhupada's vision is not limited to India alone. He sends 2 sannyasis to the west, testing the ground, while in India, laying the foundation from which a truly global movement would later emerge. It is through one disciple in particular that this current, forged in austerity, clarified through organization, and powered by devotion, will soon cross oceans and reach the wider world. Next, we come to the final turn in this story. But first, I would like to invite His Grace Rupa Vilas Prabhu to come forward, and because you mentioned to me what you wanted to talk about was directly relevant to this particular preaching mission.
Try this.
Okay.
In the published writings, the published English writings of Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakura, he titled this next section, he called it L'Envoi. I don't think I said it properly, L'Envoi, something like that, French for the messenger or the envoy. So he had 3 persons that he was going to send to London and Europe. So they were Bhakti Pradeep Tirtha Maharaj, who was a disciple of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, but the sannyas disciple of Bhaktisiddhanta, and Ban Maharaj, the famous Ban Maharaj, and a scholarly man called Sri Sambidananda Prabhu. He was quite a scholarly writer, but all of them were very well versed in the English language. So he brought them together and gave this talk. And I'm going to read the talk, and I might break off every now and then to try to explain it, because Bhaktisiddhanta's command of English was amazing, and sometimes hard to understand also. Anyway, I'll start. This is. You have to try to imagine that I have an English accent. That's going to be difficult, but I can't fake it either. So you can just sort of color it somehow as sounding more English, because his English would, of course, been British English. This is the beginning. The happy day has come when we are destined to spread the message of our great master, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, to distant corners of the earth. The spiritual service to which we are dedicated has now passed the bud stage and blown fully into a flower whose aroma we have to carry across the seas with that willingness which characterized Sri Hanuman when he leapt over the wide ocean with the message of Sri Ram. The extension of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's spiritual gift, to foreign countries is our humble offering at his feet. The words of instruction of Sri Gaurasundar are verily his beautiful body. The preachers of his word through the ages Therefore, for the purpose of truly presenting Sri Gaurasundar, the Lord of the Gaudiya, to the aliens. So he was considering the people he was sending as preachers to see he was classifying them as aliens. Whereas we get a lot of talk about aliens in the West, but we were the devotees he sent. They were going to be the aliens. At least in England they would be. I am addressing these few words of mine to the preachers who are about to proceed to countries beyond India. Well, now this proposal was revolutionary, because at the time in India, the sannyasis didn't journey across the ocean. They didn't ride on any kind of conveyances, maybe an ox cart. That was acceptable. And so this was kind of a revolutionary. At that time, it was a revolutionary. Now, of course, we take it for granted, but it was revolutionary then. So he says, this is him speaking again. We find the following great precepts, Mahavakya, in the body of the teaching that has been vouchsafed to us by the Supreme Master of all masters, to chant constantly the discourse of Hari in being one, extremely more humble than the blade of grass. Of course, he's citing Lord Chaitanya's Shikshashtak. By being as forbearing as the tree. 3, by seeking no honor for oneself. And 4, by offering the honor to all entities, is the highest natural function of the unalloyed individual souls. The lotus feet of my Sri Gurudev attracted me to his service by his manifestation as the living embodiment of these 4 great precepts. So he's saying that his guru was the embodiment of these principles that Lord Chaitanya had enunciated. My friends will be in a position to attract all souls of the world to the footstool of the real truth by purchasing the same unfailing method. Now he's addressing his disciples as his friends, which was a habit he continued throughout most of his life. He would see them either as friends or prabhus or masters. He didn't have any. He was fully humble. Okay, here it begins again. His language becomes more and more colorful as he goes along. The crest jewel of the order of the sannyasis of the triple staff, so the Tridandis and the Tridandi renunciation. So this crest jewel of this order, Srila Prabodhananda Saraswati Goswami Pad, has taught the same process to those who assume the triple staff of renunciation in the following words. I say this by holding the straw between my teeth, by falling at your feet and uttering hundreds of the humblest entreaties, all ye good souls, by throwing off everything to a distance, practice love to the feet of Sri Chaitanya, who is so surpassingly beautiful. Following in the footsteps of all the former devotees, I am making my submission to them to pursue the identical method of propaganda. In other words, spread this movement. Spread this movement the same way they did. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Dev is the supreme teacher of all teachers of this world, and the ideal possessor of intelligence that is the highest of all. It should be our only duty to constantly chant those words regarding the cleansing of the mirror of the heart, of which he speaks in his 8 precepts, Shikshashtakam. We are only the bearers of the transcendental word. It's kind of a nice poetic way of describing. He says, we are only the bearers of the transcendental word. We shall never in any way hesitate to offer every honor and facility for which they are eligible to all persons of this world. We must pray to all for the boon of aptitude for the service of Krishna. We shall come across many persons in this world possessing an endless variety of characters, disposed or hostile to the service of Krishna. But we should not slacken in our loving service of the Lord of our hearts and should offer honor to all persons. We will have opportunities as we approach different persons in all parts of the world with the vendor's bag of the discourse of Hari, to see a good many sights, to hear much, and to seek to derive much benefit from our experience. May we never forget that all entities of this world are essentially protégés of the lotus feet of Sri Guru for helping the expansion of his service. May we always remember that they are excellent only if they are prepared to wait with the utmost eagerness on the particle of dust of the lotus feet of my Sri Guru, and that otherwise they are merely the mirage devised by the deluding potency for our ruin. I wish to remind those friends of mine who are proceeding to the West for preaching the words of Sri Chaitanya to 2 precepts of my master, Sri Rupa Goswami. 1, the constant endeavor for cultivating relationship with Krishna of a person who, being free from all mundane affinity, enjoys the entities of this world, having due regard to the propriety of each case, in pursuance of his purpose, is called the proper kind of renunciation. 2, the abnegation by persons desirous of liberation of entities that have an affinity with Hari, and considering their mundane nature, is termed renunciation, possessing little real value. So here he's talking about what is real renunciation as opposed to false renunciation. Because we're interested in finding those people that are interested, that want to understand. He said, "It is my request to my friends, by giving due honor to all persons, to follow in their preaching the ideal of Sri Sanatana Goswami Prabhu in his exposition of the aphorism of the Vedanta." So, I'm going to skip a little bit of this now. And he picks up now where he begins to address, kind of give them more purpose and to try to give them the right sort of humility to approach people of different cultures. He says, "Those nations to whom you are going for the propagation of the chant of Hari are mounted on the summit of proficiency in all affairs of this world. They are practiced in the exercise of their rational judgment, are endowed with the quality of good manners, should maintain our hope unshaken that they will prove to be the worthiest recipients of the heard transcendental voice if we unlock to them the gates of the natural exhibition of abiding argument and enduring judgment. If we unpack our baggage of the genuine discourse of Hari, by relying on the qualities of forbearance, it will certainly receive the garland of welcome from the hearts of nations gifted with keen intelligence." So he was really building up in their minds, actually. These people are not only intelligent, they're well-mannered, they're very qualified in the ways of this world. So these are the people you're going to speak to. And then he's reminding them in another, a little further on, he says, "All those matters are not any commodities that are fit to be coveted by us. We are merely beggars with the triple staff of renunciation, devoted to the chanting of the words of Sri Chaitanya. We have no more nor any higher desirable object than the pleasure of serving Sri Hari, Guru, and Vaishnavas." So I'm going to skip ahead a little bit now. "It will be our only duty to proclaim to all the people that complete reliance on the transcendental absolute truth is by far the highest form of freedom, and one that is infinitely superior to the partial, independent mastery over the distorted, reflected entity in the shape of this mundane world. By holding the straw between our teeth in supplication, we shall carry aloft the banner of that real freedom to all persons. We should be constantly engaged in chanting the exhilarating name of Sri Hari by adopting as our fundamental enlightening principle that the highest path is the path of submission, endorsed by Sri Rupa, with the further exhortation to cherish the unwavering faith that he will always protect us." So, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakura ki jai. Sorry, there was a lot more in his speech, but I realize it's a little bit too long. But thank you for paying attention.
Thank you very much, Prabhu Vilas Prabhu. What struck me the most from everything you read was, it is by complete dependence on the Lord that we gain true freedom. We're kind of conditioned, programmed to think that by self-reliance we can attain that thing. But that's a complete mistake. Mother Vishaka.
I remember the name story.
Okay.
Really quickly, because I have to go. Prophet's not in this story. Well, he's always in every story, but quick story. So, some time ago, it was quite a few years. The years go so fast, I've lost track of which year was which. And I was reading this magazine that, it comes from Bhubaneswar. Madhavananda. He writes these really I like them intellectual because he puts all the sources in the footer You know, it's like he's writing a university paper, and I love it when it's like that. You know, it's not just oh so-and-so said, but this is with the quote where it comes from, which I really appreciate. So what I read was Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj had said, if you have Rathayatra in Eastbourne, Alanath, Gaudianath and Gopinath will become manifest. Now, you might think, why the hell Eastbourne? But actually there was some ladies joined the Gaudiya Math, and they had from Eastbourne, and they had a house in Eastbourne, and I think they kind of turned it into some kind of preaching centre. So that's why it was Eastbourne. So having this information, you know, because my husband and I, we do Rathayatras up and down the country all through the summer. 2 a week usually, Saturday, Sunday, you know, we're up and down like yo-yos. So I thought, oh my God, you know, we have to do Eastbourne. Anyway, to cut to the chase, someone organised it. We went to Eastbourne, Lord Jagannath's on his chariot, Baladev, and I'm like this, looking at the sky, looking for Alanath, Gaudianath, and Gopinath. I mean, the whole way, I honestly thought they were going to float down and I was going to see them. I was so excited. Anyway, we get to the end of the Rathayatra route, and it had gone through the town. It was a decent route, and I'm still looking, you know, like this, and I'm at the beach by now, and I think there was a beach, and I didn't see them, but I have full faith they were there, but my material conditioning didn't allow me to see them, and that's my other Bhaktisiddhanta story. A bit strange one, but so we actually did that. So Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati ki.
Thank you very much. That was great.
Okay, I'm going.
I'm confident that you will see them. Mother Vishaka, would you like to come forward? Would you like a seat, or I'm happy to stand? I can move these things.
What time do you want to stop? We should have stopped at 6, isn't it?
No, we go to 6:30, and then we do Pushpanjali.
I thought Pushpanjali was 6.
6:30.
Okay. Hare Krishna. So I thought it'd be interesting, or at least I found it interesting. I read a book called Modern Hindu Personalism, The History, Life, and Thought of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakura by a devotee. His legal name is Ferdinando Sardella. What's his devotee name? Do you know? Anyway, he's a devotee. And he wrote a wonderful book that was very striking. And one of the things that really struck me was the time and place and circumstance that Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakura functioned in. We know that his message, or the message of Sanatana Dharma, transcends time, place, and circumstance. However, those who represent it, those who are giving it, are coming at a particular time, place, and circumstance, just like our Srila Prabhupada came at such a unique time in American history, the mid-60s, when it was such a tumultuous occasion for the young people, rebellious seekers, giving up the standards, the values of their parents in mass, hundreds of thousands of them, and really searching. And that formed the unique situation that Prabhupada functioned in so gloriously. So in the case of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakura, between his appearance in 1874 and his passing in 1937, there was amazing watershed events that permanently transformed the cultural geopolitical, technological, and scientific face of the earth. Just before his appearance, Karl Marx published the Communist Manifesto, along with Friedrich Engels. Then, in 1859, Charles Darwin released The Origin of the Species, which challenged the religious basis of the world at that time. Alfred Nobel invented dynamite. That was 1867, just prior to his appearance. And then the telephone was invented 2 years, when he was 2 years old. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakura, the telephone was invented. There was a first international electrical exhibit hosted in Paris, and the first automobile, 1885. And Freud published The Interpretation of Dreams. The Wright brothers flew the first motorized airplane in 1903. And Albert Einstein published his groundbreaking theory of special relativity. And then there was World War I. And he writes, "This war cast a veil of senseless darkness over the world, and its aftermath witnessed the rise of communism, fascism, and Nazism. India itself was influenced by these global events on several levels, and nowhere else more visible than in Calcutta, which around the turn of the century became one of the major crossroads of the world." So all this was going on, but meanwhile, India had been a colony of Great Britain for 100, 150 years. And as their power, Great Britain's power, spread throughout India, they could not govern it without help. And so they took help from indigenous people, from the Indians. And to do that, to take that help, they first had to educate the indigenous Indians according to their needs. So first they had to learn English, sometimes other languages properly, and they had to become clerks and journalists and teachers and lawyers, and of course Bhaktivinoda Thakur was a magistrate. I think that was the highest level one could get to without being British. And this group of people who was now educated in English and had these various skills, they were called Bhadralok, which means fortunate people, gentle, fortunate people. And they were brokers to the British traders, they were interpreters, they were mediators in matters of justice and revenue. They assisted in political administration, and they became respectfully known in society, and that those positions became very coveted by the Indian people because it was secure, it was prestigious, it was well remunerated, and so on. However, the British also brought Christianity with them en masse, and the Christians were trying to convert the Indians because they felt their culture, their religions were barbaric. They worshipped so many demigods, some of them were horrific in their visual appearance and in what they did. And this Bhadralok had the tendency to emulate the British. So in the schools where they were educated to serve the British, the attempt was made to convince them that Hindu beliefs and practices were irrational, idolatrous, and insensitive to human suffering. They also neglected the rights of women. And they tried to convince this Bhadralok of the superiority of Western Christian culture. They exposed the students to monotheism, to rationalism, to humanitarianism, to European literature. So you had this that Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati had to confront and had to deal with in the course of his preaching. Sorry, is that okay? And also the strong influence of Christianity. And it became another aspect also was you have what's called smarta Brahmins, who felt very strongly about this caste system because they were taking advantage of the caste system to secure their position, their prestigious position in society, and they did not want others usurping that position. So Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakura spoke vigorously against this caste system, that one should function in society according to one's qualities and activities, not according to one's birth. So that was another aspect of his strong preaching that was necessary. And then also, because of the influence of his father, he was very much taken by the mission of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. However, at that time in history, this mission of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was not in good repute. People saw the followers of Mahaprabhu as sahajiyas, they saw them as sentimentalists, they saw them as overwhelmed by mysticism, and they were looked down upon in society. So Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakura practically single-handedly, during his time, had to reestablish the philosophical basis, the strict discipline, the highest understanding of bhakti through his teachings. So that was another huge challenge that he had in his lifetime. There's much more, but I think it's time for Pushpanjali. Hare Krishna. Sure. Okay. Well, a major aspect was that many of these Bhadralok wanted to make their understanding, their religion, more acceptable to Westerners. And because Westerners could not grasp the idea of a multitude of demigods, they introduced more strongly this idea that had been there for eons from Sankaracharya about impersonalism, that there was no difference between the soul, the jiva, and God. And when they presented this, this became attractive to Westerners, and to this day it is still attractive to Westerners. Although it was there, it was not as prominent as it was when it was introduced in this context. And so this was another huge field that Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj had to confront in his preaching, this idea of impersonalism. There's no distinction between the jiva and the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So, yeah, it went on like that. I'll just read a little bit here. One of the organizations that the British introduced were colleges, including the Scottish Church College, where our Srila Prabhupada attended as a young man. And they educated thousands of upper-class Hindu students. And they got negative opinions about Hinduism, a hatred of idolatry, a contempt for all forms of sexual expression, because in Christianity, at least in the version that they were propagating, sexuality was very repressed, a very high regard for science and rationality. So the Bhadralok, this group of educated indigenous people, sought answers from within their own traditions. And this idea of non-dualism as the core of Hindu religion took hold and generated a widespread opposition to theistic pre-colonial Indic religions, which were viewed as irrational and superstitious. So all these aspects, it was quite a plethora of opposition that Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakura faced. And he did it, as we know, with such integrity, with such brilliance, with such enthusiasm and determination, which also, by Krishna's grace, our own Srila Prabhupada inherited. And he had many other obstacles to deal with, in terms of hippies. So it's to his great glory that we're in this line, and we can appreciate these lion gurus who came before us. Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mother Vishaka, Srila Prabhupada remarked that his Guru Maharaj really appreciated his poem, specifically the stanza or the line where he said, impersonal calamity, thou hast moved. I can't remember the rest of it right now, but absolute assentient, thou hast proved. Impersonal calamity, thou hast moved. So we're not on a very strict time schedule. Whenever the curtains close, I'm instructed to begin Pushpanjali around that time. I just wanted to close with a final segment, short. At this great revival of the Sankirtan mission, as this great revival of the Sankirtan mission takes shape, something else is happening quietly within it. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakura is not simply building mattas. He is forming preachers. Preachers shaped by discipline, by responsibility, by loyalty to Mahaprabhu's mission. Among the many preachers trained within this movement is one who absorbs this spirit especially deeply, one who will later carry that mission far beyond the borders of India. That preacher is Abhay Charanaravinda Das, soon to become His Divine Grace, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada would later say, very simply, that whatever he accomplished was done on the strength of his Guru Maharaj's order and mercy. The courage to preach, the willingness to challenge materialism, the determination to carry Krishna consciousness across oceans, alone and late in life, all of it flowed from this source. And so, when Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakura departed from this world on January 1st, 1937, in Calcutta, at the age of 62, he left behind more than temples or publications. He left behind a standard of seriousness in sadhana, a standard of courage in preaching, a standard of loyalty to Mahaprabhu's teachings without dilution. That standard is what traveled. That standard is what endured. And it continues to ask something of us. Not that we imitate his austerities, not that we reproduce his institutions, but that we carry the same sincerity, the same reverence for the holy name, the same refusal to compromise what has been entrusted to us. Our tradition reminds us that the measure of a life is not counted in years, it is counted in impact. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu departed this world after 48 years, yet flooded it with love of Krishna. In that short span of time, he inaugurated and authorized a Sankirtan movement whose effects continue for thousands of years. And that is no surprise. Jai Shri Shri Radha Gokulananda, Shri Shri Sitaram Lakshman Hanuman, Shri Shri Gaurnitai. It is no surprise because Lord Chaitanya is the Supreme Lord. In the same way, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakura, as the Lord's confidential servant, used the years given to him fully to revive preaching, to train preachers, and to entrust Mahaprabhu's mission to future generations. Because an Acharya does not disappear, he remains present through Vani, through instruction, through example, through the lives shaped by his mercy. This ultimately is the legacy of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakura, a life offered completely so that others could find their way back to Krishna. As we conclude this remembrance, let us hold that gift carefully with gratitude, with humility, and with the determination to honor it through our own lives. And now we bring this portion of the evening to a close. Thank you all so very much for staying here with us. I hope that you feel, as I do, that this was a fitting glorification of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakura. And now we will have Pushpanjali. So I need a little help on the men's and the ladies' side to distribute the flower petals, which I have been told are waiting for us in the deity outfit cupboard. I have a little help. Yeah, but yeah, I put it together. Thank you. We're going to need this. Sure. Okay, does everybody have some flower petals? Yeah?
Should we do 3 sets of 3?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll do 3 sets of 3. And when you come to throw, come quite close. Because there's going to be a quick cleaning of the temple, sweeping up later. We tried to get this to work, but it didn't. Can you please repeat? Om Ajnanatimrandasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Svapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavankscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raganatan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitangscha Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Sarasvati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Paschatcha Deshatarine Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Namine Shri Barshabhanave Devi Dayataya Kripaptaye Krishna Sambandha Vijnana Dayine Prabhave Namaha Madhuryojvala Premaja Shri Rupanuga Bhaktida Shri Gaura Karuna Shakti Vigrahaya Namostate Namaste Gauravani Shri Murtaye Dinatarine Rupanuga Varudapa Siddhanta Dvanta Harine Namo Om Namo Gaurakishoraya Sakshad Vairagya Murtaye Vipralambara Sambodhe Padambujayate Namaha Namo Bhaktivinodaya Satchidananda Namine Gaura Shakti Swarupaya Rupanuga Varayate Gauravir Bhava Bhumistvam Nirdeshta Satjana Priya Vaishnava Sarvabhauma Shri Jagannatayate Namaha Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavibhyo Namo Namaha Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gauratvase Namaha Panchatattvatmakam Krishnam Bhaktarupa Svarupakam Bhaktavataram Bhaktakyam Namami Bhakta Shaktikam Hey Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Jayatam Surutau Pangor Mama Manda Matergati Matsarvasva Padambojo Radha Madana Mohano Divyat Brindaranya Kalpatrumada Srimad Ratnagara Simhasanasto Srimad Radha Srila Govinda Deva Prestali Bich Sevya Manau Smarami Shriman Rasa Rasarambhi Vangshi Vatatata Stitaha Karshan Venus Vinayar Gopir Gopinata Shri Stunaha Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhi Brindavanishvari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So now I'll do the pranam mantras for Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati, and after we've completed the 4 of them, we offer one set of, we'll do 3 sets of 3. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Tinamine Shri Varshabhanavi Devi Dayataya Kripaptaye Krishna Sambandha Vijnana Dayini Prabhave Namaha Madhuryojvala Premadya Shri Rupanuga Bhaktida Shri Gaura Karuna Shakti Vigrahaya Namastate Namaste Gauravani Shri Murtaye Natarine Rupanuga Varudapa Siddhanta Dvanta Harine Esha Pushpanjali Esha Pushpanjali Esha Pushpanjali Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Murli Shri Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Namini. Can you do another set? Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Namine Shri Varshabhanavi Devi Dayataya Kripaptaye Krishna Sambandha Vijnana Dayini Prabhave Namaha Madhuryojvala Premadya Shri Rupanuga Bhaktida Shri Gaura Karuna Shakti Vigrahaya Namastate Namaste Gauravani Shri Murtaye Dinatarine Rupanuga Varudapa Siddhanta Dvanta Harine Esha Pushpanjali Esha Pushpanjali Esha Pushpanjali Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasai Burli Shmati Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Namine Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Namine Shri Varshabhanavi Devi Dayataya Kripaptaye Krishna Sambandha Vijnana Dayine Prabhave Namaha Madhuryojvala Premadya Shri Rupanuga Bhaktida Shri Gaura Karuna Shakti Vigrahaya Namastate Namaste Gauravani Shri Murtaye Dinatarine Rupanuga Varudapa Siddhanta Dvanta Harine Esha Pushpanjali Esha Pushpanjali Esha Pushpanjali Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Bhaktisiddhanta Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Namine.
Group Puja? Yeah? Okay. Shri Guru Charana Padma Kevala Bhakti Sadma Shri Guru Charana Padma Kevala Bhakti Sadma Bando Mui Savadhana Mate Bando mui savadhana mate. Yahara prasadi bhai bhavatori yayai. Krishna prapti ho yaha hote. Krishna prapti ho yaha hote. Guru mukha padma vakya chitete koriyakya. Guru mukha padma vakya chitete koriyakya. Guru mukha padma vakya chitete koriyakya. Anakori ho mane asha. Anakori ho mane asha. Shri Guru Charane Rati Eshe Uttamagati. Shri Guru Eshe Uttamagati. Shri Guru Charane Rati Eshe Uttamagati. Jai prasade pure sarva asha. Jai prasade pure sarva asha. Chakudana dilo je janme janme prabhu she. Chakudana dilo je janme janme prabhu she. Divya Gyana Hriday Prokashito. Divya Gyana Hriday Prokashito. Prema Bhakti Ahahoite Avidya Vinashayate. Prema Bhakti Ahahoite Avidya Vinashayate. Vedega Yahara Charito. Vedega Yahara Charito. Shri Guru Karuna Sindhu Adhama Janara Bandhu. Shri Guru Karuna Sindhu Adhama Janara Bandhu. Lokanata Lokera Jivana Lokanata Lokera Jivana Haha Prabhu Korodoya Deho More Padachaya Haha Prabhu Korodoya Deho More Padachaya Ebe Asha Gushuk Tribhuvana Ebe Asha Gushuk Tribhuvana Jue Pade Loe La Sharana Srila Prabhupada Patita Pavana Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar, Srivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, So now we'll have Gaur Arti. The chanting will continue with Gaur Arti. And where's Vani? Vani, I've been told that you're going to sing Gaur Arti. Is it true? Good. Because we all need help. Your help. Okay? Come on. Possibly. Stand up. Can you stand? Yeah.
Jai Shri Shri Radha Gokulananda ki Jai Shri Shri Sita Ram Lakshman Hanuman ki Jai Shri Shri Govindai ki Jai. I'll lift it. You can stay. Keep it Jaya 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 Jaya.
Keep Jaya Jaya Gora Chande Arati Koshobha. Janavi Tatavani Jagamana Lobha. Dakine Taishan Vame Gadadara. Nikate Advaita Shri Vasa Chakradara. Bushi Ache Gora Jan Rata Semasai. Arati Korena Brahma Adideva Gane. Nara Hari Adi Kori Kamara Dulai. Sanjaya Mukunda Basu Gosadi Gaye. Shankara Madhu 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 Bhaje Shankha Bhaje Ganta Bhaje Bhaje Karatala Mathura mein Ganga Bhaja Paramar Sala Bahu Koti Chandrajini Badana Ujvala Galadesha Kana Mana Kore Jalamala Shiva Sukhana Radha Prema Gada Gada Sukhana Bhakti ke vinoda dekhe Gora Sampada Jaya Shri Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare Nitai. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Nitai Gora Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gora Hari Bol. Nitai Gora Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gora Hari Bol. Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gora Hari Bol. Nitai Gora Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gora Hari Bol. Gora Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gora Hari Bol. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Radha Gokulananda Radha Gokulananda Radha Gokulananda Shri Radhe Jaya Sita Ram Lakshman Hanuman Jaya Sita Ram Lakshman Hanuman Jaya Gauranitai, 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 Jaya Gauranitai. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol. Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol.
Jai Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivarikacharya Ashtatarasya Srimad Bhaktisiddhanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki Anantakati Vaishnava Vrinda ki Iskon Guru Vrinda ki Iskon Bibidi Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada ki Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki Primsako Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasati Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki Sri Radha Krishna Gop Gopinath Shama Kund Radha Kund Giri Govardhana ki Vrindavan Dham ki, Mathura Dham ki, Navadvip Dham ki, Shridham Mayapur ki, Ganaka Maya ki, Yamuna Maya ki, Bhakti Devi ki, Tulsi Maharani ki, Nitai Go Pramanande, Samvita Bhakti Vrinda ki, all glorious assembled devotees, all glorious assembled devotees, all glorious assembled devotees, glorious to Shri Guru and Gauranga. So please, if you can sit down for a few more minutes, we're going to continue with the Arti and Shingadev prayers.
Namaste Narasimhaya Namaste Narasimhaya ito nirsimha parato nirsimho ito nirsimha parato nirsimho yato yato yami tato nirsimha bahir nirsimho hridaye nirsimho bahir nirsimho hridaye nirsimho nirsimha madim saranam prapadye Narasimha madim saranam prapadye Tava kara kamala varenakam adbhuta shringam dalita hiranyakashipu tanu binga keshavadita narahari rupa jaya jagadisha hare jaya jagadisha hare jaya jagadisha hare bolo tavatara dalita hiranyakashipu tanu binga keshavadita keshavadita narahari rupa jaya jagadisha hare jaya jagadisha hare jaya jagadisha hare keshavadita Tava kara kamala varenakamadbhuta shringam dalita hiranyakashipu tanu bingam keshavadita narahari rupa jaya jagadisha hare jaya jagadisha hare jaya jagadisha hare tava kara kamala varenakamadbhuta shringam dalita hiranyakashipu tanu bingam Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare. Hare Krishna,